Hi, this is Merrill Chandler from GetFundable.com. And in this episode of the Note Closer Show, Scott and I are going to do a complete takedown of my research this last summer of over 350 credit funding, credit repair, personal credit, business credit myths. And we call it the Myth Masters. We invite you to join us because you might be very afraid of what you learn to be the truth instead of what's a misrepresentation or a myth. We will see you on the inside.
This is the Note Closer Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to have you today. And we're really jacked up. I couldn't think of a better person to start off 2022 and the episodes here for the NCS podcast than the man, the myth, the legend, our good buddy, Mr. Merrill Chandler from GetFundable.com. He's been a regular contributor on here, just providing tons of nuggets and helping you see through, as we like to say, the credit matrix out there. What's crazy going. So what's going on, Merrill? How's it going?
I'm thrilled once again to be here. Always been a fan. Always love your we share hundreds and hundreds of clients together because there's just such perfect synergy of what we're doing, what you're doing, and how they all getting those fundings necessary so note buyers can buy more notes, right? So I'm thrilled to be here. So happy.
You know, you have exactly like you said, you've really helped a lot of our students out there. And if you're listening on this or watching this for the first time, don't know who he is, you can always go to getfundable.com, find out more how Merrill is the, as we like to say, the credit messiah, not credit repair, but the credit messiah, and really helping people see through the myths out there that comes to helping you have a more fundable profile, getting lines of credit, getting credit cards, getting loans approved at lower interest rates.
Yes.
We're clients. He's helped us with our mortgage getting down. We've learned the things that he's taught, and it's helped us save thousands and thousands and thousands, and really boost credit scores and some of the things that were screwing our stuff up there. But yeah. I don't want to take any away the thunder. You have been working on something really massive.
Dude, we are so excited. It's the credit mythology. It'd be Mythbusters, but since that's trademarked, Myth Masters. So we over the course of this last summer, so probably late spring, summer, I spent months and months. I mean, I'm literally, I looked like a mad professor. We bought every single credit repair, personal credit, business credit, business funding book available on Amazon. And then I went through every popular, when I say popular, anything that had more than 100 views, every single YouTube video, everybody who's talking about collections and business credit, all these things. I mean, I'm literally eyeballs deep in all of these supposed experts, right? And come to find out, I compiled a list of taking them from all these sources. I compiled a list. We're almost 400 myths deep from what's being promulgated out there by these supposed experts, right? People who literally, I can tell that they literally lifted a sentence from one book that they read and wrote it in their own book, and with no thought in between. And so we have almost 400 myths, and we're building a fact fiction, anti-myth campaign. Myths, misrepresentations, misunderstandings, because some are innocent. They're like, they say, yes, credit bureaus started out as government agencies. I don't know where they got the information from, but that's patently not true, right? So we have literally hundreds of these, and we're building an education platform and campaign so that we can just blast America with the myths and the truth, so that they have a chance of being able to see. I mean, you can subscribe to an email, you can go just watch any of our social feeds, every single social feed. Instagram is my favorite because it's like, did you ever think that such and such was true? Swipe. It's not. Swipe. You know, we get to lay out so that people can have a chance to find out what the truth is. And then every one of these social platforms, if you want to know the truth about a particular myth or about all of them that we're talking about, you're going to be able to download an ebook that lists them all, and then a platform where you can free of charge, simply tell us how to access, get your login information, and off here to the races to find out the truth about these things. And then we have strategies, master classes, our boot camp, anything that you need to learn how to implement the truth. So there's the myth, there's the truth, and then there's the strategy to stop stepping on that landmine and take control of your personal credit, your business credit, your funding opportunities, all of it. Massive campaign. Yeah, well, that was a long answer to a short question, Scott, but that's it.
Basically, you're creating the credit cliff notes when it comes down to it for everybody in life, in real world. Yeah. Now, question for you. You mentioned something, obviously, and you may not know this, you may have a feel for it. What would you say the percentage, if we said half of the videos out there, or 75% or 25%, how much of the content out there is outdated and really, I guess you could get expired like a gallon of milk?
Yeah. Okay. So this is discouraging. This is really heartfelt, because I would probably say of the amount of principles taught in a single book and then aggregate all the books, yep, I would probably say that they're 40 to 60% inaccurate when they say do this thing. Now, when they get into like some credit repair, they teach how to write a dispute letter, and the dispute letters, most of them are fine. I'm talking about the principles, like, right, yeah, to build your credit, let's get you an authorized user, right? I mean, every single book, every single video on the planet says, become an authorized user. And so what this is distilled for me, I've been doing this for 30 years now. Right. But what this exercise did for me, Scott, it's insane. It's honed in my attention on a couple of key principles that literally, if this domino falls, every domino. Remember in V is for Vendetta, and the guy's setting up, and there's literally a million of those of the dominoes, yeah, and he pushes one, and it just makes this entire gorgeous logo. Well, that is what these key principles, these key myths, these key beliefs literally cause all these other things to be true. For example, if I may, there is, if somebody, and I've been sensitive, but you know how things consolidate and make more sense even at a new level, right? If somebody says in any ad, anywhere, you guys, freebie for all our listeners, if anybody says anywhere, do something, raise your credit score. If you see in their ad, raise your credit score, run for the hills, because they're focusing on a score, not fundability. And then, again, we've known this, but we didn't know how nobody else knows this. You know how you kind of you're in the note business. You know how you kind of take for granted, like the ABCs of notes, but then somebody asks a question, you're like, oh, some people don't know that this part. We've forgotten more than most people know, right? Well, in this case, when somebody says raise your credit score, raise your score, I'm telling everybody to run for the hills, because they're focusing on a score. So what do? What they want to sell you a trade line. A trade line is a fancy word for becoming an authorized user. on some rando's account out in the country that they have found, one of their friends, and they're buying it. It costs $2,000 and you can buy credit score points. Well, most people don't know FICO Falcon, that the consortium of 9,000 banks is monitoring. Are you related to the person who you're getting an authorized user, becoming an authorized user on? And if you're not related, they may shut down the owner's account for misuse of credit, right? And so, so authorized user or trade lines. Others say, yeah, credit repair, raise your credit score in 100 days. And we're like, you can't repair your way to good credit. You can't to fundable credit. You can't repair your way to fundability. So anytime anybody mentions raise your credit score, so on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, everywhere that there is this, I can't call it bad faith, but wherever there's misrepresentations, we're literally, you know how TikTok does duets, right? You can say, see what they're saying right there? Not true. And here's the facts, and show documentation why the facts are why the truth is not what these people are saying. So that's my first thing, is if they even mention raising a credit score, it means they're focusing on the wrong thing. Credit scores aren't even counted in the approval process until after the approval. They use the 40 borrower behaviors to establish whether or not to approve you. Then they use your FICO score to determine the rate, the term, and the amount they want to give you, not approvals. So if you're raising your score, you're not talking approvals, and so it's irrelevant.
Makes a lot of sense. Now I have to ask you a question, because over the holidays, we saw a lot of information about, like, was it Experian Boost or Credit Boost? Is that in line with what you were just talking about a little bit?
So it's even if the credit bureaus say raise your credit score, they're focusing on the wrong thing, right? Because even Experian Boost, FICO has FICO Ultra. They're measuring alternative data to be more inclusive. Well, if you don't have a current credit file, then let's talk about Ultra and Experian Boost. But if you have a credit file, if you have any one or more credit cards, if you've ever had an auto loan or a mortgage, if you have a credit file, then Experian Boost focuses on the wrong thing. They're trying to deceive you into raising your credit score when the credit score is not used to approve you. The credit score is used after your approval to determine rate and term and loan amount. So same with FICO Ultra. So anybody, I'm talking about the people who they haven't been beyond manipulating you to focus on credit scores, as we've talked about in plenty of other podcast episodes, where your credit score is the shiny object they want you to focus on so that they can measure your borrower behaviors behind your back.
Now, I know that you have a very good relationship with FICO World that you go to once every 18 months or year and a half. And you've talked to the head of FICO and other things like that. Have you gotten any feedback, or have you discussed with any of your FICO colleagues, FICO friends, as we should call them, hashtag FICO friends, on the myth book, on the 300 plus myths and stuff like that, to get any feedback on how they kind of, what side of
when it's ready? I do have a FICO liaison, and we talk a couple times a month generally. And so when I finish it so that it's in a reasonable order, I did send him a copy of my book and to get notes, and he's like, well said. So I don't know. Now he can't he can't represent FICO's official thing, but he's like, dude, well done. So I'm going to send him the myths and see if we're like, well, technically you may want to explain this one more, right? Or this seems a little truncated. You may want to expound on the differences between different types of business credit, things like that. But he's been very generous about steering me towards complete and utter accuracy.
Makes good sense. Now, twisting
hashtag
a
FICO
little bit.
friends.
Exactly. Hashtag FICO friends. I got to use that in the post there for you. Now, flipping a little bit there. Have you seen anything besides FICO and stuff in the credit card companies? Have you seen anything in any of the banks kind of changing their
Yes.
marketing aspect. I say this because suddenly on my log into my Wells Fargo account, I said, I get approved for a business line of credit. And I ain't seen that like that forever, where it popped up automatically. 5 minutes, get approved for a business line of credit.
Right. It may be because you've been implementing optimization strategies over a longer period of time now, number one. Number two is Chase officially says that all of its business lines of credit from now on are going to be secured. And yet behind the scenes, we keep seeing some Chase approvals unsecured. So when we do funnels or sales or whatever, we split test, right? Let's see what the response is over here, what the response is over here. I don't know which Chase website I'm looking at because they may be testing. I'm like violently opposed to, why are you going unsecured? And if remember, they don't want to make the same mistake that Wells Fargo did. Remember early spring, they said, yeah, we're cutting out our personal credit lines, closing them all down. And there was such an uprising that they said, all right, if you have certain criteria today, not when you were approved, but we have certain criteria today, certain traffic patterns, we'll give them back to you. And so, I don't know, 80% were returned to the owners, right? And opened back up. So I think they just want to test, because lenders today, you've seen it yourself. Lenders today are in a way different space than they were in 2008, 9, and 10, when they were like, screw the proletariat. We're taking back all of the houses. Now it's moratorium. Some people are on moratoriums for 18 months still. Yep. It's crazy. They don't want to lose the long-term positive relationships with borrowers. And so they're willing to carry the paper and put it all on. No loan mods, no nothing. It's literally like, yep, we'll just take that interest, put it on the back end of your loan, and we're going to call it a paid as agreed. That is way different. Well, that attitude for mortgages, auto loans, credit cards. I mean, there's been an amazing leaning in by lenders for those of us who want to get the most amount of money and partner with these lenders. It's all about building the right kind of relationship with them.
I saw an agreement that gave the borrower a payment of 1 cent for 48 months.
Serious?
One penny for 48 months.
Dude, if you should send that to me, because oh my word, that is amazing. But look what they're willing to do, because they're seeing some long-term catastrophe with that borrower, I'm assuming. And they're like, you know what? We're going to make this, we're going to codify this so that paid as agreed now means one payment of 1 penny for the next 48 months, paid as agreed, right?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, there's so much positive things that are going on with lenders right now. But at the same time, some of them are, it's really strange. I've become aware of attending all of the lender forums and the lender symposiums that I get to be the borrower rep, right, at all these lender symposiums. And what's fascinating is to watch the tier 1 banks, and in the same footprint, in the same geographic area, to watch all the tier 2 banks, what they do to compete. So when Wells Fargo pulled back on these credit lines, the tier 2 banks were like, hey, credit line. I mean, they went off. They're like, we want to grab market share, what they call wallet share, right? And so it's just so funny that nobody gets even the top 4, nobody gets carte blanche anymore, because everybody will, with underwriting guidelines that you can tweak here and there, you can literally take on a competitor in your same banking space with new products that literally fill the hole of what somebody, when they pull back on. So I'm going to watch Chase to see how long they actually make their business lines of credit secured.
Now, the one thing that this goes back to banking, my days of being a banker from 20 years ago, roughly. And when I was a banker, and this is kind of across the board for Capital One, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank One, a bunch of them. If you're a banker and you're opening a new account, because it all kind of starts with that new account.
Right.
Right. But It's the same thing. If you open a credit card, you're suddenly getting inundated to open a checking account or doing direct deposit or electronic checks. They want you spread across at least a minimum of 5 products, not necessarily just loans, but like, let's say online banking, other things, direct deposit.
Touches.
So they secure you, and it makes it more difficult to move that relationship or end that relationship, right, Merrill?
That's great. That's great intel. Yeah, thank you for that. One of the funny things is that we're watching, or that we're seeing, is the amount of the amount that lenders are actually continue to pivot. I wanted to give you an update. I'm working with one of the FICO groups to do a use case. Now, I didn't know this. This is crazy. But I attended a lender forum. FICO reps were there. It was hosted by FICO. FICO reps were there. And after we all introduced ourselves, and I go, I'm Mr. Borrower Education. I want to make fundable borrowers. He contacts me through LinkedIn, the leader of this work group. And he goes, I'd like to have a conversation about what you're doing. We spend an hour on the phone. He goes, would you mind, you don't have to give me all of your tech, but would you mind doing a use case about how a bank could educate their depositors to become borrowers, how to become fundable and be ready to do an application with a higher likelihood of being approved. And I'm like, okay, so they don't have that? Thinking that everybody's thought of everything before I did, right? And he goes, I came to FICO from Bank of America. The thing Bank of America is using is what I did 10 years ago. And if you look at any Bank of America, it's called Life Plan. And it's just you set up a savings account and you indicate how much to auto draft from your checking account to a savings account that's named auto loan down payment, mortgage down payment. That's Life Plan. There is no education, no nothing. And he asked me to build it. So I am almost by the January, we'll be meeting again so that I can present this educational piece and then have them direct auto, mortgage, credit card so that lenders can capture. And I'm like, I cannot believe they don't have this. Do you realize that one of the people who were in that same space said that 82% of depositors do not have some sort of credit product at the same bank, at their depository institution. 82% do not have another. They check with Chase, and then they have they have an American Express credit card. They do not stay home and get more instruments, and they want me to help them solve that. I'm like, I
have to give you a little insight to that too. As an ex-banker, it's hard to believe that things haven't changed as a banker. But as a banker for Chase, that was one thing we had to do, was look at who had just a credit card, who didn't have a checking account, or who had a checking account but didn't have a credit card, and that was us. We were required to try to set 20 appointments a week with our client base to get them to add a
sell
product.
Them on a new product with no education pieces, no nurturing campaigns, no, hey, did you know that if you do this, it means this? And here's what happens with your fundability, and let's make you credit card fundable. You're welcome. You're going to see that coming straight from this young man right here.
Well, it's the thing. They called it 5-star. And you actually know they received postcard. They received a letter. You could see what mail pieces they had gotten. That makes me think back to how you said, don't open a mail piece because you're going to be tagged in a system. That is exactly true. And to this day, they still use that same system.
Yes. It's insane. And 20 years later for you, 10 years since dude developed the origins of Life Plan. And I'm like, I cannot believe that I'm willing to come up with this. You're welcome.
Right. Well, it also makes me think too, here in the fourth quarter, we saw a lot for Mint credit cards, Mint debit cards for the youth kid, you under 18. I see opinion and emotion coming from Merrill Chandler. Release the beast. Okay.
Yes. So Mint, once again, is using a finance company to underwrite its offers. And a finance company is a tier 4 40% low value, gonna get a ding on your credit because FICO dings consumer finance accounts. And so what Mint is just trying to get wallet share while they're young. And so we're actually, to combat this, we're actually in first quarter looking at doing a how to build a fundable profile for your teenage or adult child, and without using authorized users, right? We're actually doing a masterclass so that we can get our real estate investor, entrepreneur clients and tribes people to get their children up and fundable sooner. But yeah, Mint, anybody like that, all the web banks that are coming up, all of this craziness, this buy now, pay later. Have you noticed that every single pay portal now says interest free 4 payments of XYZ? Man, time value of money. Oh man, there's so much BS going on right now, bro. So much.
Yeah, I was ordering something on Under Armour the other night on the app, and it said, "Oh, you can get 4 payments of pay this shirt off in 4 months at 15 payments or 4 payments of $15." I was like, no.
Exactly. You know? I know. It's like, what? So, and it's robbing, because it's the payment process. It's robbing Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover Blind in their processing fees, and trying to get time value of money into the banks of the folks who are collecting these payments. They don't even know. FICO, I talked to my guy, and FICO is working on how do they even, since it's mostly 4 payments, do they not even count anything until after 4 payments, and don't even put it on your credit, because it's an extension of credit. But how do you moderate? Is it a loan with 4 installment payments? Sounds like it. Is it a revolving account? And those are treated very differently by the algorithm. So lots are going on. And most of it, guys, is not in favor of your fundability. They're trying to take advantage of our ignorance and our lack of borrower sophistication. And that's why the boot camp is becoming the place to learn the strategies on how to take control of your fundings, how to take control of your personal credit profile and your borrower experience.
Now let's talk about that a little bit, because it's 2022, and you had great success over the last 2 years with starting your Get Fundable bootcamp, your Friday, Saturday events, your Saturday, Sundays occasionally, bringing people in and really indoctrinating them into dispelling a lot of these myths and helping them kind of see behind their own credit curtain. You know what I mean, right?
Absolutely.
And so what's the plans for the new year? You're still going to be doing this 2 days on a regular basis?
Yeah,
do you have a digital side of it?
So we're splitting out. We're approaching more consumers rather than just entrepreneurs and real estate investors. And so we're starting out a on-demand digital master course that covers the tech that we do in the boot camp now, but you don't have to wait 20 days, 30 days to get to it. It's literally on demand. It helps you. There's quizzes and certification that you know what you're doing when it comes to revolving accounts, et cetera. We're really making it interactive and engaging. And our FAQ is literally questions from the 30 plus boot camps we've done, and it's me answering live, and you can read it as well. So there's the question, and then there's me answering it live. And if there's subtleties to the Q&A, I'm going to give the different subtle answers. It's going to be so comprehensive that people can sit back and go, okay, I can digest this, and it's lifetime access. Once you get there, you're all in. And then we go to the interactive on a quarterly basis. Then we're going to start a 2 days with me going, all right, now that we know what we're doing, how do we implement, how do we leverage, how do we grow our credit lines, et cetera? And that's where it'll be the live, because I'm never going to get away from a live experience. I love live boot camps. I love them in-person live. I love them Zoom live, right? But I want to, but we want, our biggest complaint has been like, dude, I can't make that date. And or what do I need to do to watch the recordings? Or what do I need to, and you can buy the recordings now, but or get a ticket that includes the recordings, but now you got to make other choices and everything. Instead of like, how do you get access right now, do it, and then move on to the live engagements and et cetera. So I'm really excited about that. It's going to, of course, we're going to dovetail it, or what do you call it when you, we're going to keep both of them going, split test. And then, and once we have dialed in the digital master course that covers all of this, and we have the Q&As and everything's done, and we want to ultimately replace my boot camp and use my time with you in not learning the tech, but now solving the damn problems, right? We're even working on software where you can subscribe to the software and optimize your profile and do everything. 2022 is our ba-ting year. It really is the capstone.
Well, you've been building for the last 3, really revolutionized things before COVID.
Yeah.
You know, and you made the right pivot to do that prior to 2020. Yeah. Or 2019, whatever. It's hard to believe, you know, it's basically 2.5 years shot with Uncle Charlie over there, Uncle Vid.
Right.
We talked about there that the banks are delaying things by just simply saying, pushing things out, you know, paid upon is agreed upon. What are you seeing back with it? Is it the same thing on credit card companies or other credits, auto debt or other things like that, where they're allowing people to kick the can down the road a little bit?
Actually, that was the first to start being curtailed. They're still doing means tests, but by and large, they want, if you're going to do the credit card, they say, keep it open, pay off the balance, and then you don't have to use it, right? They want a plan to reduce to zero if you want to keep this thing open and in good standing. I haven't seen in the marketplace an arbitrary set. If you, the borrower, contacts the lender and say, I am struggling because I am caring for someone with COVID, or I have COVID, and all of these things are happening, that they have not still been open to solutions that include you showing them a plan for paying it off, but not using it any further, things like that, mitigating their risk, but taking care of you, the borrower, at the same time.
You know, the thing that surprised me the most that I thought we would see more of is such a big reduction in BK filings. You know, I don't know if you're tracking that, but
yeah,
you know, they're
through the floor. Because why? Because people aren't afraid to talk to their lender to say, dude, I am legit trying to solve these problems here in my household. And could you hook a brother up? You know, can you take care of me while I take care of that? And there's so people aren't using bankruptcy as an escape hatch. How many times in 2008 did you know? I mean, I even did it for some of my rental properties. You file bankruptcy in order to protect the protect the mortgage and to not have them foreclosed, right? So very little of that is happening. I'm not aware of it, and none of my clients. I have thousands of clients, both current and previous, successfully finished their funding targets. I haven't heard a single one that said, "Hey, Merrill, I'm getting ready to do a bankruptcy. What do I need to do?" Not one.
Right. Numbers say that they're down somewhere between 28 and 39% year over year compared to the 2020 numbers. Aren't in completely for December, but the November numbers were down 29%, or not, sorry. It was hang on here. Yeah, fell 29.1% for the 12-month period ended as of November. So compared to the year before. That just
shows collaboration between borrowers and lenders. Lenders are not the big bad wolf knocking on the door, and borrowers are not afraid to say to the lender, "Oops, there it is," right? Can I get some help? As long as that conversation is going, the lenders have been, well, by the way, You may be aware of these numbers in second quarter 2022, second quarter 2020. The four top banks, Chase, Wells, Bank of America, Citi, their profits were $6 billion between the four of them. In 2021, just second quarter, they were over $20 billion. So something's working in this new relationship building model with borrowers. Something is working because they are profiting while still not getting some percentage of their credit card, auto loan, or mortgage payments. Something is working.
Well, I think it's got to go that number. When you look at that same period of time, that was the most, we saw a solid increase in people saving at that time. We had been in a savings deficit. So that makes you think, are they taking money and saving it? Glad to give you that 0.1% and lending it out on loans, mortgages, credit cards.
Great math. That's a great dot connect, because it is more people are saving. Do you realize that in 2020, we also dropped significant debt usage? Credit card balances were, as a percentage of GDP, the lowest they'd ever been. Now back in 2021, we just capped at 13 trillion. We're over. I mean, it's like everybody slingshot. Everybody said, no credit. Woohoo! Let's spend on credit. I mean, it was like a slingshot. So these are wild times for folks, for us in the financial services. Dude, this is a roller coaster. This is like bungee jumping, not knowing if somebody hooked up the cord, right? So
make sure they packed you with the right parachute versus dirty laundry. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know until I pull that cord. I don't know. These are wild times, and we're seeing all these new financial products. Everybody's trying to get in the bank. Walmart announced that they're doing that they're going into retail banking, and they already have 53 million captured audience. 53 million are going to start using a tier 4 bank and pollute their profiles without even knowing it, because it's a captured audience.
It's because it's all that Woodforce bank that we see at the checkout aisle. Get your banking here, where you go see the same thing. I mean, yeah, 53 million. That's a heck of a database to start putting in there. Right. That they can automatically start marketing.
Account here, get a savings account here. Oh, and then the auto pays, because we're the only place you really shop. So we're gonna do all these programs to save money, stock money over. Here's your Christmas fund to spend down here in the Christmas aisle. Dude, it's a captured universe. But unfortunately, I wish they were at least a tier 3 bank. They're not. It's all finance BS. So, and those things matter. I wish it didn't matter, but now we're captivating the opportunity to ruin. Yes, it's convenient, but a tier 4 bank does harm the fundability of your profile, because you are now being treated like a consumer rather than a strategic borrower. And that is not okay. We need to up our game.
It reminds me, I hate to say this and make an analogy, but the number one show on TV was Squid Game. You know what I mean? And if you think about how those folks ended up in the Squid Game, because they had borrowed too much money, they had student loans.
Wasn't that a social commentary?
Yes. Are we headed down Squid Game? Squid Game 2022.
We're headed down the Squid Game, and it's not a ski slope. It's a luge. There are very high walls, and there's only one way, and you're going to get to the bottom as fast as possible. No bueno. No bueno, guys. We got to do this differently.
Exactly. So if you want to avoid and learn the true rules of the Squid Game, or how to make sure you're not screwing up your credit by falling for one of these backdoor screwing in the rear end offers that seem too good to be true, then what's the best way, folks, for
getfundablebootcamp.com? Getfundablebootcamp.com. Read the reviews. Don't believe me. Don't believe Scott. Just read your peers. These are I've never said this before. This boot camp is peer reviewed. You can read what your fellow note buyers and real estate investors and business entrepreneurs, you can read what there's dozens and dozens of these reviews. Just read them. I promise you, we have a money back. Yeah, it's crazy. If at the end of the first day, you are not wowed, not like, oh, okay, that was pretty cool. Screw that. I'll give you your money back. If you are not like, holy hell, I will give you your money back at the end of the first day. Now you don't get to go to the second day, but at the end of the first day, I want you to be a part of this fundability movement. I want you to believe that you now have power over your own approvals. And that's the bottom line. GetFundableBootcamp.com. It's
one of the best things got out there for you guys. We go to attend a lot of events. We've been through it a couple times. I consider the Get Fundable Bootcamp one of two must-attend events out there for you to build your foundation and make sure that if you're wanting to build a big house, whether it's real estate, rentals, notes, whatever your entrepreneurial journey is, you've got to start out with a good foundation. And Merrill's course, the Get Fundable course, is the rebar that holds the concrete of your future success together. Okay.
Thank you so much, Scott, for having me again. I love our time together. It's always high energy and amazing amounts of intel. Thank you for the bankruptcy intel. That was awesome. I know they were lower, but I didn't know month over month, year over year. No.
Yeah, that's the thing we look at.
30+%. That's crazy.
Yeah. 38% in September, 29.1 in November is what the number. Now it could have been a month beforehand based on when the numbers come out, but yeah, I say average 30% across the year in 2021 compared to 2020. So
yeah,
interesting to see. But guys, check them out. Merrill's also the host of the amazing podcast, the Get Fundable podcast. Check it out on any place that you listen or watch your podcast. Also got a great YouTube channel out there and on Instagram as well.
And shortly, by the beginning of the year, you'll be able to go to Credit Myths Exposed podcast. Look, Credit Myths Exposed podcast. Gonna crush it.
Cheers.
Love it, guys.
Thanks. Guys, go take action. We'll see you all at the top. Bye.